What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another video. Hopefully you guys can learn something this video. Today we're going to talk all about the shad spawn. You know, it's finally the month of May, and really you start getting those warm nights in the month of May, and that triggers a lot of those shad to start spawning. And you know, it's a really fun way to catch a bunch of bass really quick. So we're going to kind of dive in, go through you know, the process that I use to find a shad spawn, where you can find it, and definitely some baits that you want to be throwing on the shad spawn. But if you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. You know, we're pumping out 3 videos a week right now, so we're really trying to grow this channel. Appreciate all you guys always tuning in and watching the videos, commenting all the time. I see all you guys, and I really appreciate all you guys. So all right, if you guys are ready, let's jump in and let's talk about some shad spawn fishing. Okay, well, I'm sitting here, I'm rigging up some tackle for my day 2 at Lake Eufaula, Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour Stage 4 here at Lake Eufaula. I had a little tougher first day, but I'm rigging up some tackle. You know, I kind of ran into a shad spawn a little bit in practice, and then we had a bunch of storms and changing conditions, and it kind of pushed things back a little bit. But my first day of competition, which would be yesterday, I seen a bunch of shad spawn, and it really got me thinking that I should do this video to kind of help you guys when you see that situation arise, and what to look for. And really, it's a great way to catch a bunch of fish. So first up, let's just kind of dive into the where and what the shad spawn is. You know, really, the shad like spawning in fairly shallow water, so it's pretty much going to be 4 foot or less, generally speaking, and a lot of times it's even like on the surface, so it's a floating object, or it is inches of water, you know, against some riprap or a floating dock or something like that. So the shad basically spawn on a hard piece of structure, like I said, like a rock. We'll just use a rock for instance. Right where that rock comes into the water, the shad get up there, and you'll just see them flipping around, rubbing up against each other. For instance, here at Lake Eufaula, the water came up and it's in the bushes. So any piece of bush that's in the water, a green leaf, something like that, is something those shad are going to spawn on. They're up there flipping around in it, and really it's a quick, easy meal for a bass. So it's a little overwhelming, especially right now on Lake Eufaula, because there's so much structure in the water. There's so many bushes, there's so many places that the shad can spawn, but also so many places a bass could hide up there where the shad are spawning. So it's a little difficult to present a bait properly, and it kind of narrows down the baits that you can throw on this particular lake. But in general, a shad spawn is going to happen on a hard piece of cover, riprap, rocky, gravelly bank. Sometimes they'll spawn offshore on more of, you know, like a shale bed or a gravel bar or something like that. Floating docks, marinas are an excellent place to go find a shad spawn. And like I mentioned, the bushes here at Lake Eufaula, those are all great places to find it. Now, the shad really like spawning on those warm mornings. So you want the weather to be fairly stable, and you need it to be very warm overnight, and it kind of keeps those shad shallow overnight. And they're a very low light condition spawning fish, I guess you would say. So the shad spawn generally happens first thing in the morning on those low light, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be a low light day. It just kind of ends quicker on those bright sunny days when the sun comes up quick. So if you're going out doing some shad spawn fishing or looking for a shad spawn, you want to get up a little bit early. You want to get there at the boat ramp while it's still dark outside, okay? And you want to be launching your boat on the water just as the first crack of light comes up. And that's where the shad starts spawning. I choked on a piece of fishing line. I'm always chewing on fishing line, and I chewed on it a little wrong, and it went down my throat. I about choked on it, but let's get that out of my mouth. Okay, anyway, where was I? I about died there on a piece of fishing line. Jeez. Whew.
You said you want to wake up early.
Yeah, so shad spawn fishing is a definite early morning technique. I mean, it's something where you can get up bright and early, She is just laughing hysterically. Is it that funny? I almost died and you're just laughing. My gosh.
Okay, good.
Yeah, shad spawn is something you want to get up bright and early. And, you know, honestly, you can put the boat back on the trailer at 9, 10 o'clock because once that sun gets up high, the shad are done spawning. And generally, targeting those types of fish get a little stingy after that shad start spawning. So, okay, let's dive into baits. You know, baits are, obviously you're trying to imitate a shad because them bass are feeding on those very easy meal of a shad that are up there spawning. So they're ganged up and easily targeted. Man, we're just getting all kinds of distractions in this video. Let's go into baits. Baits. Let me grab some baits. I got some baits rigged up back here. Let's see. These are some absolute staples. Absolute staples on the shad spawn. So my number one choice for a shad spawn is gonna be the good old chatterbait. You guys see me throw this all over the country. You can't beat it. That's the exact size of the shad that are spawning generally. It's a perfect imitator. I got the 3-inch Yamamoto Seiko trailer on the back. It really allows this bait to have a bunch of action and kind of dart around and really trigger a lot of those fish that are following it. Generally, I go with the 3/8 or 1/2 ounce size and put it on like 15-pound line and just, you know, you're throwing this, you're trying to get this bait as close to the piece of cover as possible. And, you know, a chatterbait skips really well, so it makes it an excellent choice for those marinas, those docks, getting it under like overhanging trees, getting it really close to the bank. You know, the chatterbait skips a lot better than, say, a spinnerbait. Spinnerbait would be another great choice. This is just a little finesse style spinnerbait. It's got a little bit smaller blades on it, so it kind of doesn't move as much water because generally you're looking for a little bit clearer water. So, you know, I don't want it having these big flashy blades. You know, I'm looking for a little bit more subtle with that spinnerbait and just kind of mimic those smaller fish. Next up is going to be for that little bit heavier cover. Like I said, like we have here at Lake Eufaula, the flooded bushes, they get up in there and you can't really throw a chatterbait or a spinnerbait in that type of stuff. So that's when you pull out the old swim jig. And if you've noticed a trend here, all of these baits are shad colored. I mean, white, it's hard to beat white. Like I said, this is a low light condition technique or pattern. I guess the shad spawn will be a pattern. So it's a low light pattern and you're really looking for just those real bright white colors. You know, I don't get real specific on my colors. I like white and some shade of white basically is what you're looking for on the shad spawn. So a swim jig is an excellent choice for that, you know, that heavier cover like the bushes, as well as the good old frog. I mean, this is obviously a topwater bait, so this is going to stay on the surface and you can kind of work it a little bit slower so you can get it in those tight places and just kind of work it in place and try and trigger a bite. So a frog's an excellent choice. And then last up, we got a little bit of a sleeper bait for the shad spawn, which it's kind of a very subtle approach, and that's going to be a soft plastic jerkbait. There's that piece of line that about choked me to death right there. Soft plastic jerkbait. So this one here is the Yamamoto D Shad, and you know, that is rigged on an exposed hook style. That is a Trocar TK180. So this will be for more of your open water, like, you know, riprap or rocks. If I was going to fish around heavier cover, like in the bushes or something, I would switch up to that hook right there, the Trocar TK105. It's more your round bend worm hook, but this is the Pro V round bend worm hook right there. But I would rig it a little bit differently if I was in that heavier cover so I don't have that exposed hook. But that right there is a sleeper technique, and this is perfect for, you know, I find myself first thing in the morning, when I first get out there on a shad spawn, I'm picking up the chatterbait or the spinnerbait and kind of going through a progression. You know, you can fish those extremely fast. And then, you know, once I make a pass or two with those baits, I might pick up the swim jig and try it. And then, you know, once you've fished through that area fast with a couple times with these different baits, the last pass before I move on, I'm going to pick up that D-shad and give them a different look. And a lot of times you'll find yourself picking up a few extra fish on the D-shad after the fact. So hopefully you guys learned something. You know, the shad spawn doesn't happen everywhere in the country, so it seems to be, it's generally more in the southern half of the country, I guess you would say. You know, but really it all depends on the type of forage and the type of fishery that you have. You know, a lot of the northern lakes don't have the same threadfin shad as in the southern half of the country, and that's generally what type of shad is spawning like this. So it's really kind of fishery dependent, but if there is a shad spawn in your area, I promise you, you can pick up any of these baits that I mentioned. Go find a rocky bank, a marina, some bushes, find the shad that are up in there spawning, and I promise you, you'll catch a bass on one of these baits right here. So, man, it's a lot of fun, but like I said, you got to get up early, get out there before it gets too bright, and have some fun, be back home for breakfast. So, all right, appreciate you guys watching. Do me a favor, leave those likes and comments down below. Don't forget, hit that subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.